Thank you, Marcelo. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. The Saudi hospitality is well known around the world, and I was the beneficiary of that. So thank you all very much. Shukran. We have spent the last couple of days talking about innovation. We have looked at it from a number of different vantage points. We have looked at it from technology. We have looked at it from a global perspective, nation states. We have looked at it from processes. We have looked at it from a perspective of improvements. We have just started to talk about the people aspect. Where does innovation originate? There is only one place on this planet that innovation originates: the human mind. And that human mind that originates innovation and the productivity that follows is a highly treasured part of who we are, because it makes us who we are. And as we look at it, our research has shown that while necessity may be the mother of invention, an engaged mind is significantly more innovative and more productive. And what we mean by engaged is threefold. One, it's the employee or the person that has a deep sense of organizational pride of where and what they represent. They go out there and actively recruit and become a powerful brand for the organization that they represent, and they rarely, if ever, think about leaving. So taking that definition of engagement a step further, the obvious question is it really that important? Let me share a personal story with you. I'm an actuary by profession, and in my life, data rules. You look at data, you analyze it. All this stuff about engagement and leadership is all baloney, it's all malarkey. That's the way I thought. And in the process of starting a number of businesses that kind of grew up to a certain size and then flattened out. And I had to go through that exercise a few times. I think probably because intellectual denseness is a family trait. I realized my view of the world was wrong. That there was something else. There is this something else, and we call it today engagement. So Connexa began this journey of trying to understand what it meant. And over the last decade or so, what we have found out after over 100 million surveys and serving about 200 out of the Fortune 500 clients in this marketplace, regardless of geography, vertical, type of business, that there are some fundamental principles that you can correlate. So let's start with the first one. The first one is financial performance. There we go. This is available, by the way, on the GCF website. It's our 2010 Work Trends Report. I've just pulled out a couple of slides from there. If you look at the financial performance, regardless of what metric you want to look at, and look at that organization's engaged workforce versus those that are not engaged, you can see significant multiples of performance. Deeper in the results, we can also show that an engaged workforce is predictive of operational efficiency and better organizational hierarchy and performance. So what is the primary driver of this, what we call engagement? Well, our research has shown, surprisingly, to me, maybe not to the rest of the group, it's leadership. Leadership has a 5 to 6 times impact on engagement. If the employee perceives their leadership to be effective as opposed to ineffective, creates a huge huge gap in employee engagement, satisfaction, and a lot of other components associated with engagement. And so the number one driver that we have been able to find by vertical, by geography, to explain financial performance is engagement. The number one driver for engagement is leadership. So what are the key drivers? What did the people tell us after these 100 million or so? The drivers for leadership are very simply those that show and inspire confidence of their organization, and that they recognize employees in the quality of the products and services that they put out. Our research has also shown that the two most important traits, human traits, are flexibility, which intuitively I think we all know the world is moving and changing at an extremely fast pace, and the second is optimism. Ask yourself, when was the last time you followed a pessimistic leader and found it to be an enjoyable experience? People underestimate significantly the power of optimism. And I cannot emphasize that point enough. The component of optimism spans across for-profit, not-for-profit organizations, nation states, whatever that may be. The President of the United States was elected on one theme, hope. Inherent sense of optimism associated with that. The other two drivers of engagement in an organization are as follows. They provide an ability to grow and learn. As my grandfather told me, the day you stop learning is the day you start dying. Calcification sets in. Organizations that allow their employees to grow and learn is the second highest driver of engagement. And the third one is there is a genuine responsibility to the entire stakeholder group with a focus towards the employees. So now that we know in terms of organizational performance, engagement is a major driver, let's talk about leadership for a second. I grew up in the Western world, in the business world, and understood that the two major drivers in leadership are rational and emotional. And that if you are rational, you'll win most of the battles. The people sitting in this room probably realize how stupid I was, because when rationale meets emotion and they're in contradiction, emotion always wins. Because human beings are emotional. And so when you're leading, lead with the heart. It's the easiest and quickest way to touch people. You touch their hearts, you touch their minds, you touch their souls. I'd like to kind of conclude on the societal impact of what I'm talking about. Since humanity acquired consciousness 40, 50,000 years ago, all of our major decisions were made around food. And as we evolved as a species, we started banding together. And the first basic unit we formed was the family unit. And we made our decisions based on two dimensions then, our food and our family. 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, humanity experienced the notion of faith. In the pluralistic world we live in today, multiple faiths are resident through different parts of the world. And faith has now become as important a dimension in decision-making for major life decisions as food and family. A few hundred years ago, the Industrial Revolution began. And in that Industrial Revolution, the number of job families that existed prior to that was about 30 to 40. It was the monarchs, the traders, the craftsmen, the farmers, and that was it. I mean, you had about 30 or 40 of them. Today, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the United States, in 2008, we had over 1,000 job families. And that doesn't include the new job families that are being created through the mobile technology. So that number will double again in the next decade. Career and job selection has now become the fourth dimension that we as a species make decisions. Think about the people who move because of work. So in these four dimensions of decision making, engagement is extremely powerful concept because of the spillover effect of it. An engaged employee is a better parent, a better spouse, a better partner, a better community member. And as leaders, we have that duty of care to those that follow us. There is a second theme that is now hitting the global economy. Through the recession, the jobs and careers have now split into two major components. There is now a divide. Just like there's an economic divide, there is access to healthcare divide, technology divide, there is a career divide that is taking place. And that is the commoditized employees and the non-commoditized employees. The non-commoditized employees are people like us. We have a unique skill. We are blessed by the Creator that we have demand for us. There is another whole mass of humanity that are now being put into this commoditized. They're the invisible people. And these invisible people are being absolutely forced down. They're being stripped in terms of income as it comes down for this group. There is no security and all the other ills that follow. But an unintended consequence of that is we are stripping them of their dignity. We are stripping that entire mass of humanity of its dignity. And so as leaders, I humbly urge us, ensure that our workforce is engaged so they become better community members. And in our workforces, the employees that matter, let's make sure we handle dignity in the space it's supposed to be. Shukran, and thank you.
Thank you, Hood.